It really is a privilege for me to be able to take the next few minutes to talk a little bit about one of the applied systems-based research projects that we're evaluating. This project was kicked off at Weaning in October of 2015, and so we'll give you just a preview of the first year, and it's really tied to an issue that affects all of us. We all have to manage our cull cows. The revenue from cull cows can account for a third of the revenue associated with a cow-calf operation. And typically, producers will sell their open animals, their cull cows, at weaning when they're really not in very good condition. And more times than not, the price of cull cows are at a seasonal low. We see that as an opportunity to investigate whether or not we can improve the economics of cull cows. So, and the other thing I want to point out is not much work has been done in this area, at least in this region. And so we sat around and asked the question, can we use intensive feeding programs, fresh bulls, breeding bulls, and value-added markets to improve the economics of cull cow research? We're collecting a lot of data on these animals, and you can see in this table some of that data includes their age. We're taking a three-person body conditioning score to evaluate what kind of condition they're in at the time of weaning. We're catching a shoot weight, and we work with the USDA folks up at Oklahoma City, and they come down and they place grades, dressing percent, back fat fill, and we can place them in grades. And so there's kind of two components to this project. One is how we manage the animals, and the other one's how we market them. We manage them using the body conditioning information that we're collecting. And what we decided was that we would sort these 88 animals into groups based on body conditioning score. And you can see up here that we decided that we would have a group that we're calling thins that have a body conditioning score less than 5.5. And we have a moderate group if they're in between 5.5 and 6. And then anything over 6 we're going to call heavy. Now in this particular year, out of these animals, we just had a handful that were what we called heavy. So what we decided to do was we pulled them into two groups. This is the feeding programs. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about the feeding programs, but we had 20 of those 88 were thin, and 66 of them were moderate. And our goal to hang on to them, put rations into them, and try to get their conditions for all of them at around 6. And the other thing that we're doing is, at this time of the year, we have access to fresh bulls from our bull battery. And so we attempted, we placed bulls on these two groups, and we left them on there for 60 days. We started the turnout December 1st. We left them until the first week of February. And then we pulled those bulls off. We waited 30 days, and then we took a blood test to verify whether or not they were pregnant or not. And so I'm going to take a couple of minutes here and just go over a couple charts to give you some idea about how we did. And so this first chart represents shoot weight over time. And so we collected data every month from weaning through March. We collected shoot weight, and you can see that the blue bar is the moderate group, and you can see that their average weight at the beginning of the project was around 1,100 pounds, and the thin group was substantially less. And our goal, essentially put a diet together to maintain the weight for the moderate cattle and to try to improve the weight and condition for the thin cattle. And you can see that the nutritional rations that we put together were very successful in getting those cattle to be about the same weight at the end of the project. This graph represents the body conditioning scores from start to finish, and you can tell that we were able through the two diets to improve both set of cattle. And again, our goal was to try to get near that body conditioning score of a 6. And so you can see over time that we were successful doing that, and now we have a whole group that is essentially the same weight and the same condition. Okay. Now I said earlier that we we used the body conditioning to determine management, but we used the age of the animals and whether or not they were bred or not to determine how we're going to sell them in that particular year. So this table represents the economic results for all the animals. And so what I want you to do is to take this set of 3 bar charts here that I have. This group is animals that were 6 years and older. So it was what we would call our older group. And just for the record, 86% of our opens were rebred. And so that was roughly 76 out of the 88 animals. So we that's pretty good, we felt, that we had a really good successful rebreed rate. So blue bars represent the economic revenue that we would have generated if we would have just sold our cull cows at the time they were deemed open at weaning, okay? Because we had the data, we had the USDA grade and the weights, so we just went to the market at that time and placed value on them. The orange bar represents the economics. It's the revenue minus the cost of the feeding programs for the cattle that we retained. And so this older group, we sold them at the sale barn in Oklahoma City. And you can see the white or the gray here represents the economic profit or loss. So on our older animals, whether they were bred or not bred, we had 13 of them that were bred and the rest were open. They just didn't play out very well for us in this particular year in this particular market. Now these other 2 out here, they represent the younger cattle. Remember, we're marketing them based on age, managing them based on condition. And this group represents our animals that were 2 to 5 year old. And we put those in a special video auction sale for replacement cattle. So those animals you can see, again, blue bar is what we would have done if we would have just sold them at weaning, and orange is what we actually earned by video auction. And you can see that we earned about $500 a head. So the answer is, from an economist, it depends. What system? It depends. Our team, thank you.